We're with Leslie Partridge at Puddy's Pre-Stud. This is one of her horses called Genoa.
Genoa's a youngster. She's coming 4 in January, the first week in January. I had her when she was about 6 months old. Bought her from John and Kim Rodeo, who've got some lovely horses out in Spain, and she actually was bred in this country, and she was quite a sort of bright bay really when she was a youngster, and gradually now over the years she's got a bit of grey coming in, but she's still a very unusual shade. She's got, well, she did have quite a strong dorsal stripe and leg bars on the insides of her front legs, which is very primitive marking, and the breed goes back to a long way, and they were they're very prehistoric markings, and this breed does seem to have that in it. She's more of a dressage type conformation. She has a long stride. She has a very nice temperament. Her bones are long bones, which is very typical of the breed. Long cannon bone. She's got a nice type of Roman nose, well, slightly Roman in the head profile, which is looked upon as being nice. So they have a triangular eye, which is quite typical of the breed, where the top of the eyelid actually goes to a point, sort of has a little point to it. The muzzle is nice and tapering from the centre of her head. It's nice and broad between the eyes, and the muzzle comes to a nice typical nose there, where the nostrils are long here, and the centre of the actual lip divides into sort of like a sort of, well, just a division in the end of the nostril itself down there, and they sort of hang down, the two parts of the nose do. She's got the right type of ear set, where they're curved on the outside of the ear coming up, and then the inside has that little bit of a notch in it. That's typical of the breed. Rather than the point in the top, they're usually blunted off on the top of the ears themselves. The presentation of them is done like this, where the manes and the tails are shaved off the females.
Okay.
And that's the way that they're presented for showing. So that's sort of a point that is a bit unusual to British breeders.
Absolutely. So thinking about her build, she's quite a well-built animal, isn't she?
Yes.
Is that typical of the breed, or can you have finer ones, broader ones? How does it work?
Well, she's very heavy boned actually, which is a good point with them, and she's got depth of body from the withers to the girth there. She's extremely broad and deep through, which is a very good point in any horse really. But she's got a very nice conformation. She's by a horse called Conquistador that's bred at the Mipey Stud, and he's a very good line from Tamarindo, which is their bloodline really.
Okay. And in terms of the way that she's muscled up, she looks like a fine example of a horse, with quite a big muscly neck, well muscled hindquarters. Is this again something typical of the breed, or is this something that you've had to work an awful lot on to get her to be like this?
No, they are naturally this shape. They put that's the breed, the type that they've been bred for, where the body is rounded, and the actual shape that they've been trying to get is all curves. So you have in the showing, they're like a curved neck, that curves from the actual withers straight over the top of the head, and then a curved on the head here, and then on the rump they like a nice rounded rump, which is got some roundness to it. So it's mainly all curves that they're looking for with the breed. That's the sort of horse that they're after, and they're naturally collecting. They carry themselves well. The hindquarters can support the body because they have a very upright neck carriage, which is quite vertical on the shoulders, and this allows them to collect and hold themselves on hindquarters on sharp turns, because they were actually used for bullfighting, and they had to be very quick to move out of the way of the bull in the bull ring.
We're with Leslie Partridge at Perdiz Stud with a little colt called Perdiz Tamarico. Now he's turned out quite differently to the mares that we've seen. I mean, he's got hair on in his mane and on his tail. Can you tell us why that is?
When they're foals, both sexes are trimmed out completely, and then as they come into the yearling stage, then they have to be trimmed, and the females have to be continually trimmed, where the colts then at a year old are allowed to grow the mane and tail, and this is a bit of growth really since it's about August really, and it's starting to shape up. He's quite a big colt, and he's probably going to make about 16 pounds, I should imagine. He's the first foal that we bred off Eclipse, and his sire is Tamarindo, which is also bred at the Maype Stud, and came over here a few years ago. And Tamarico, he had a first at the breed show this year, so we were chuffed to bits with that.
And he's quite an unusual colour as well, isn't he? He's a proper steel grey.
Yes, he was a bay when he was born.
Right.
And then gradually over the time he had the grey hairs coming in, and I've had his hair sample and that analysed, and he's actually a black horse, and so he'll always be this colour. Now he's starting to go grey, so it gradually grey out. His mom was perhaps a little bit darker than this when she was a youngster, and now she's really quite pretty. She's had dapples in as she's got older, so I imagine that Tamarico will get dapples as he gets a bit older too.